Chapter 4, Lesson 3, Solving Equations by Adding or Subtracting. So first let's talk about the definition of an equation. An equation is a mathematical sentence that contains an equal sign. Alright, that contains an equal sign, and is what it does is showing that two expressions are equal. Alright, so it can be simple, or sometimes it's a little bit more complex. Now, when we look at an equation, is what we're going to be looking at is equations that have variables in them. So what is our goal when we talk about solving an equation? Well, our goal is to isolate the variable. We want to get that variable all alone on one side, it doesn't matter the left or the right of the equal sign, so that we can actually see what it equals. Now, how do we reach that goal? We use inverse operations. And remember, inverse operations means that we are using the opposites. All right, so if we see adding, the opposite is subtracting. If we see multiplying, the opposite is dividing. Now, our steps to solving an equation. Now, obviously we have some other things that we sometimes have to do, but our basic steps are that we want to first find the variable. We want to locate it and see where is our variable. Then we want to ask ourselves, what is being done to the variable? Are we adding something to the variable? Are we subtracting something from the variable? Are we multiplying it by something? What's happening to our variable? And then we want to do the opposite. All right, and that's where those inverse operations come in. Now let's look at some examples. All right, so my first example here, I say, okay, what's my variable? My variable is right here, it's the y. I say, what's being done to it? Well, I'm subtracting 14 from my variable. What's the opposite of that? Well, let's add 14 because that's going to get rid of it. But we must be fair in our equations and add 14 to the other side. So my equal sign stays right there. 25 plus 14 is 39. Minus 14 and plus 14 cancel, and y equals 39. Okay, let's look at this next one. Where's my variable? It's right here, the m. What's happening to it? We're adding 5/8. So what's the opposite of that? Subtract 5/8. So now I say, okay, 1 3/4. Well, I'm going to have to get common denominators. I'm going to go ahead and do that right here. So I have 1 6/8 minus 5/8. These cancel, equals m. 1 6/8 minus 5/8 is 1 1/8 equals m. All right, and last example. Where's my variable? It's right here, the a. What's happening to it? I'm subtracting 5.7. What's the opposite? Add 5.7. So I do that to both sides. Those cancel. I have over here an a. And on the other side, I have negative 9.2 plus 5.7, which leaves me with negative 3.5. Now, how do I check my equations? I plug the value that I found back into the original equation. And I make sure that it's true. So let's look at this example right up above. I said, okay, well, I found out that a equals negative 3.5. So let's see if that's true. Negative 3.5 minus 5.7 equals negative 9.2. Well, if I do negative 3.5 minus 5.7, I do zoom, zoom, add the opposite. I get negative 9.2 equals negative 9.2. And that shows me that I did it correctly. Be sure to do the try these problems, and we'll do the in-class ones in class tomorrow.